Today we're going to be talking about eggs, going over all the basics. When it comes to cracking eggs, there's a right way and a wrong way. What you don't want to do is tap it a bunch of times on the side of the bowl or the side of the counter. It creates all these tiny little fractures within the shell, and that's just more possibility that one of these is going to fall into the bowl. If you do end up with shell in your bowl, it's okay. You can still get it out. A common way to do this is to take your shell and dip it back into the bowl to grab the shell in the bowl. And while this is probably fine, you do run the risk of reintroducing bacteria into the bowl. So if you want to avoid that risk altogether, what I like to do is just wet my finger, dip it into the bowl, and grab that little piece of shell. The right way to crack an egg is to just crack it once firmly against the counter and then go directly over your bowl. There are a few different ways to separate an egg, but my favorite is just to use my hands. I find that I have the most control this way and it's the most foolproof. So you'll want to start by having one bowl for your yolks, one bowl for your whites, and one small bowl to crack the eggs into. The biggest risk of the yolk breaking is when you crack the egg. So I use the small bowl to make sure the yolk is intact, and then I can start separating. We're going to set our hand over our bowl of whites, pour in the egg, and let the whites just fall through our fingers into the bowl. Kind of shake your hand around to assist it. Once we have just the yolk in our hand, we can transfer it to our yolk bowl. One of the reasons you might be separating your eggs is because you're planning on whipping the egg whites. The big thing before you start whipping is that you have a clean bowl. You want to make sure there's no water in there, there's no oil in there, and you also want to look at your egg whites and make sure you didn't get any yolk in there. And all these things are to ensure that your egg whites whip up really nice and fluffy. I like to start beating my egg whites on low speed until they start to get frothy. Now that our eggs are nice and frothy, I'm going to kick up the speed to high. We know they're not quite ready yet because our eggs are still a little bit loose and runny, and we want to get them a little firmer. When your egg whites are perfectly whipped, you'll be able to kind of move the bowl around and it won't slosh around. It'll kind of stay in one big mass. You'll have some stiff peaks on your beaters, and everything will look very uniform and smooth. So if you've over whipped your egg whites, you'll see that instead of it being like a clean and stiff and glossy peak, it kind of will look a little like curdled and separated here. One easy way to help prevent this from happening is to add just a little bit of cream of tartar, or if you're adding your egg whites to something sweet, you can add a bit of sugar. Let's replay that. Whether you're cracking an egg into a skillet for breakfast or whipping up egg whites to make a dessert, you're all ready to go. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.